Hello, and welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Linda McNamee, here for Phil Gallagher. Joining me on this week's edition is BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, reporters Robert Paris and John Vias, Peter Brown with the weather, Jolie Atwood on Community Calendar, and Liz Gillespie with sports. Burlington Public Schools have reported 10 new positive cases of COVID-19 since we reported the most recent cases last week. On April 3rd, the department reported a case at Marshall Simons Middle School. On April 5th, they reported a case at Francis Wyman Elementary. On April 6th, there was another case in the middle school. On the 7th, there was one case in the high school, followed by two more the next day. Finally, on April 9th, there were two cases reported in the middle school and two more in the high school. In all cases, the school district and the Burlington Board of Health initiated contact tracing, and anyone deemed to be a close contact was required to quarantine. In the Burlington Public School weekly video address, Superintendent Eric Conti spoke about the relatively high level of the cases the district has reported in the last couple of weeks. He said it could be due to the more contagious variants, but that they have seen growing fatigue with precautions as more people get vaccinated and the weather improves. He urged everyone to remain cautious until it becomes time to relax some of those mitigation policies. Burlington Public Schools have selected the district's first Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The administration said in a release they are pleased to announce that Raymond Porch has been selected and appointed to the position and will begin his new role starting on July 1st. Mr. Porch has more than 17 years in secondary and post-secondary education with significant experience in public, charter, and private school settings. He has served in both school-level and district-level leadership roles, including his current role at the Joseph Lee K-8 Director of School Climate, Culture, Equity, and Culturally Responsive Teaching and Learning. Porch will complete his coursework for his Doctor of Education degree in 2021. He also earned his master's degree in Educational Administration from the University of Massachusetts, Boston. In regards to his priorities as a school leader, Mr. Porch said the following. He has a passion for developing youth and collaborating with adult educators and believes serving students is one of the most important tasks our greater community needs to embrace. He also believes he has the necessary experience, knowledge, and drive to be very effective as the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in Burlington Public Schools. Superintendent Eric Conti said school leaders feel fortunate to have had such a strong pool of applicants for this position, and that Porch separated himself from the pool of over 40 candidates with his ability to articulate both the technical and adaptive aspects of this position. Conti added Porch's expertise working on issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion in Boston Public Schools will add tremendous value to the district as they continue to address their short and long-term goals. As of Monday, April 5th, all elementary schools in Massachusetts were required to return to full days, 5 days a week. This means administrators had to come up with protocols for unmasked activities such as lunchtime. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford went to see how the Burlington schools were handling the situation and has this report.
As of Monday, April 5th, all elementary schools in Massachusetts were required to open their doors for full days, 5 days a week, in an attempt to catch up on some educational time lost due to the pandemic. One big change that has required careful consideration and planning was how to safely have students eat lunch while maintaining social distancing. To find out how that is being handled at one elementary school in town, I went to Fox Hill on Wednesday to check it out.
So the big shift in the extended time for school at the elementary level, we've added lunch, we've added recess, there's been more learning time. The lunch and recess, we've obviously had to put some safeguards in place to make sure that everyone is following the protocols that we've set up with COVID from the beginning of the year. Everyone is still at 6 feet social distancing here at Fox Hill. Students are eating in their classrooms. They eat with their masks off, but as soon as they're finished with lunch, they put their masks back on.
Under state rules, students must be at least 3 feet apart while masked and 6 feet apart while doing unmasked activities such as eating. I wanted to know if this has caused any complications.
So here at Fox Hill, we've been lucky that we've been able to maintain the 6 feet, whether masks on or masks off. For all activities, we are at 6 feet. I know some of the other elementary schools, due to enrollment, have had to go down a little bit. I think that the biggest challenge is these new activities obviously create a lot more, especially lunch. Only lunch is able to create a lot more unmasked activities. We've already done it with snack, where people are eating without masks. So those guidelines that we've put in place for snack, we've extended to lunch, albeit it's a little bit longer.
Rather than eating in a cafeteria where enforcing social distance could be potentially difficult, the elementary school students in Burlington are eating in their classrooms or even outdoors. This puts some extra responsibilities on the teachers and other faculty members in an already difficult year, but they are stepping up to the plate.
I need to say from the get-go, from day one this year, our staff here has gone above and beyond in all areas, doing things that I'm sure none of them ever thought that we would do in school. They've been tremendous. They've been extremely diligent about making sure that the kids are following social distancing protocols, making sure that they're washing their hands before and after they eat, before and after we go to recess, and making sure that everyone is keeping their masks on, wearing masks appropriately, and staying safe.
Finally, Principal Rosenblatt said despite the extra challenges, he's happy to see the students having more time to interact with their teachers and their peers.
They're able to enjoy social time during lunch. We're able to go out at recess, which has been a huge success for the kids in these first few days. They've loved it, and it's been a welcome sight to see everyone together and being able to play together, albeit socially distant. If nothing else, it's a huge sense of normalcy, something that a lot of the kids haven't experienced in over a year. Being able to be in school, interact closely with friends again, being able to play with friends again, being able to socialize again. So I feel like it's been huge. Everyone has been extremely happy. I'm sure tired, both adults and kids. These first few days have been extremely successful.
From Fox Hill Elementary School, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you to our teachers and administrators. Members of the Burlington Fire Department will soon be able to keep in shape with new equipment thanks to a grant. Chief Michael Patterson said in a release he is pleased to announce that the department is one of nearly 300 fire departments across the state to have been awarded a grant as part of the Department of Fire Services Fiscal Year 2021 Firefighter Safety Equipment Grant Program. The $14,140 grant awarded to the Burlington Fire Department will be used to purchase physical fitness equipment for the weight room at fire headquarters, the release states. The new equipment will replace aging items as well as those that have been donated to the department over the years and help ensure that firefighters can remain in top physical shape in order to be prepared for the rigorous demands of their roles. Chief Patterson said heart attacks are among the leading causes of death for firefighters, so helping them keep physically fit is an essential part of the department's mission. After a year of being closed to the public while staying active via online events and curbside pickup, the Burlington Public Library has reopened their doors for guests. BNews reporter John Vias went to check it out and has this look.
After a year of the COVID-19 pandemic taking a toll on many a town staple, Step 1 is now underway for the reopening of the Burlington Public Library. Guests can now schedule an appointment to visit the library and browse through books in the traditional library manner, provided patrons wear a mask and continue to social distance. The library doors were unlocked on Monday, April 5th. Library Director Michael Wick has more on the big day.
We had about 40 appointments the first day, so we have a capacity of 150 appointments. So it was well under capacity, but it was a very comfortable way to start. Patrons were real happy. When we opened up the doors at 10 o'clock, everybody was smiling underneath their masks. Their eyes were smiling. By the time we got to the afternoon, that's when majority of the kids and their parents were coming in, and that was a great experience, too, to see them.
A key factor that kept the library up and running throughout the pandemic was their curbside pickup service, where patrons could check out items online and pick them up at the library's drive-thru.
We needed to have a centralized area where people could pick up their holds. When we were looking at the way it would work, it was difficult to figure out exactly how we could do it with having holds in 2 different locations, because we know that there's still a lot of people who want to come through curbside. There's people who haven't been vaccinated. We're still maintaining that, but we are moving much more to our public desks again. That's been interesting, to say the least, working, with all of these different service points that we're having to juggle. But we're able to do it right now, partially because of the limitations that we're placing on the number of patrons that can come in.
Returning patrons will notice some changes made to the library's interior while they were closed.
We had quite a few projects take place while we were closed to the public. So we had all new HVAC units placed on the roof. We had lighting replaced throughout the building as well, so it's all been upgraded, high efficiency LED lights. We've had the front area of the building painted, so the circulation, young adult, and audiovisual areas have been repainted. And right now we're getting some doors replaced, some exterior doors replaced as well. So we've been spiffing up the building while we've been closed.
The library will still be hosting virtual events to the public, but a plan is in the works for bringing those events back in person.
We are looking to transition some children events into in-person, having those outside during the summer, but right now that's not going to be all the events. We're looking at just doing a few of those throughout the summer. So that we can transition kind of back towards in-person, because what we found is that the adults really enjoy online events. Our participation has gone way up in online adult events. So I think it's dipped a little bit for children's just because of the amount of saturation that kids have online. And so that was a decision to try and transition to some in-person events over the summer, especially since we have the beautiful weather that we can enjoy.
To learn more about how you can make an appointment to visit the library along with plans for Phase 2, visit burlingtonpubliclibrary.org. From the Burlington Public Library, this is John Vias for BNEWS Weekly.
Thank you, John. The Burlington Equity Coalition is a new group comprised of existing organizations who want to come together to fight for equity for all people. BNews Director Rich Hosford spoke to some of the coalition's leaders and has this report.
As reported on Bay News, last week there was a vigil on the town common in support of the Asian American Pacific Island communities in the wake of a rise of hate crimes aimed at them since the start of the pandemic. That event was coordinated by the newly formed Burlington Equity Coalition, a union of different groups including Burlington Against Racism, Indian Americans for Burlington, the Burlington Interfaith Clergy, and a number of charity organizations, among others. I wanted to learn more about the new organization, so I spoke to some of its leaders over Zoom to do just that.
We had formed Burlington Against Racism, soon after what happened to George Floyd and, the BLM protests and the ones we had in our town. And so a group of us just got together and formed that group. And then after we had so much success getting that DEI initiative with the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in the schools, we thought, hey, let's start expanding things to a more town-wide level. And to do that, we thought, we really should be working with other organizations in town. Basically a network of support for these different organizations so we could amplify each other's messages and missions, and then also collaborate on town-wide initiatives that would benefit the whole community.
So what is the mission of the Burlington Equity Coalition?
Is to bring equity and inclusion within our town, which I think we already have, but I think it's also the awareness that we wanted to bring and to have everyone's voice heard. And I see that within BEC, we have so many, I would say almost all of the local organization that has come together to support this whole equity, committee and to take us to that next level and bring awareness within the town.
Yeah, we have a vision and a mission statement. So basically, we're the Burlington Equity Coalition. We're a group of organizations, and we're committed to making Burlington an inclusive, equitable, and welcoming place for all residents. And we want to celebrate and acknowledge diversity of all our residents. And going with that vision is just a community where everybody is respected and valued, no matter, what their race, their ethnicity, their religion, their sexual orientation, their gender identity, age, disability, education, or socioeconomic status.
Anyone who wants to get involved can find opportunities at the organization's website at burlingtonequitycoalition.org. The group also provides multiple ways to stay informed on all the latest fights for equity.
Sure. There's, in addition to the Get Involved tab, there's also a place on every web page where someone could subscribe to our news, and we have an RSS news feed. We just started a Facebook page, I think last week, which we used to promote the vigil yesterday, and we're working on getting an Instagram account up and going as well, so that we can communicate with residents however they're comfortable communicating.
From a Zoom call with members of the Burlington Equity Coalition, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
Thank you, Rich. Do you have any unused hazardous materials lying around your house, garage, or shed that you'd like to get rid of as part of spring cleaning? The Burlington Board of Health will be conducting their semi-annual Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day on Saturday, May 1st, from 8:30 a.m. to noon at Francis Wyman Elementary School. This collection event is for Burlington residents only and provides an opportunity for proper disposal and recycling of household quantities of hazardous materials. Proof of residency will be required. Hazardous waste materials that will be accepted include full aerosol cans, automotive products, batteries, fluorescent light bulbs, glues, household pool and hobby chemicals, pesticides, oil-based paints, propane tanks, and thinners and solvents. Latex paint, tires, radioactive materials, alkaline batteries, construction material, medical sharps, and expired or unwanted medications will not be accepted. However, there are sharp kiosks available at the Burlington Fire and Police Departments. This year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there are special instructions in place. They include: do not attend if you have any symptoms of the virus. Wear a face mask. Stay in your vehicle with the windows rolled up. Place the materials in the back of your vehicle without any other items you don't want thrown away. Burlington's resident Mike Espeo is one of the newest members to begin his podcast inside of the newly built BCAT TV podcast studio. BNews reporter Robert Paris talked to him about using the new system and has this report.
That's a cool machine. Welcome to the new BCAT podcast room, where you can create your own podcast. One of the newest members to use this system is Burlington resident Mike Espeo, who is gearing up for his new show.
It's called The Pod Where It Happens, and it's the title is, as many Hamilton fans will know, is kind of a riff on one of the songs. It's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a potpourri of different subjects, from talking about myself to favorite restaurants to issues in town, pop culture, sports, movies. Just kind of going to be a grab bag, and we'll see how it goes depending on feedback. It's very malleable.
Mike is very intrigued by this new machinery.
It's a nice private area. Everyone here is really helpful and nice. We have a nice, it's called a roadcaster, where it plays sounds and you work with the levels and it does the recording, and it's very all high class, first class professional. So, I mean, there's a lot of mics and stuff, as you can see. So eventually when I have guests, I think it'll be really fun.
Before podcasts even existed, Mike was a blogger back in the day.
Many years ago, I used to write a blog, and it was a good creative outlet for just a creative outlet whenever something was bothering me, or just stress reliever. I love to write. My degree in college, English major, and it didn't go viral or anything, but it got pretty popular with friends and family, and I burnt myself out on it. But the nicest compliment I ever get is, to this day, people still ask when am I bringing it back? And I thought, when I heard about this podcast room, I thought, why not try to, bring us into the 21st century and do the blog in pod form.
Mike can hardly wait for his new podcast show to go public.
BCAT had a membership meeting, and they were going over all of the new changes for the membership, and they had a nice video of this podcast room, and when I heard it was available for anyone in Burlington or a BCAT member to use, I thought, it looks pretty state of the art, really nice. Let's give it a whirl. Won't cost anything. Why not try?
Now that you know a little bit more about the podcast studio, be sure to come down and check it out. I'm Robert Paris for B News.
Thank you, Robert. Last summer, businesses and restaurants were sent scrambling to make arrangements for outdoor accommodations in accordance with COVID-19 guidelines. This year, Burlington businesses are ready and planning outdoor family fun as well as unique culinary experiences. Nordblom is gearing up to offer entertainment at its 3rd Avenue development, and National Development is preparing to do the same in the district. Planned events include yoga and other exercise classes, painting for children and other art classes, cornhole tournaments, food trucks, and live music and other performances, among other activities. Anti-COVID precautions will be in place, and guests should be prepared to socially distance and wear masks when required. For a more comprehensive look at the plans at 3rd Avenue and at the district this spring and summer, visit our website at bcattv.org/bnews. The modified fall sports season 2 is well underway, and the Red Devils continue to play hard. For all the latest action, we go to B News sports reporter Liz Gillespie for this week's sports report.
Hey everyone, I'm Liz Gillespie for your weekly sports report. Burlington High Fall Session 2 is nearing its end here at BHS, but the teams still have a couple weeks left of games. Girls and boys track both headed to Wakefield to take on the Warriors on Saturday, April 3rd at WMHS. The boys beat the Warriors in a score of 63-37, while the girls finished the meet with a victory of 55-45. The girls moved to 1-2, and the boys are 3-0 on the season. Both teams will have a home meet against the Melrose Red Raiders on Saturday, April 10th at the Marshall Simons Middle School. This game will be live streamed on the BCAT Facebook page at noon. Girls swimming had a virtual meet against the Stoneham Spartans on Saturday, April 3rd at the North Suburban YMCA in Woburn. Burlington lost to the Spartans 110-63. The Red Devils dropped to 1-3 and will face the Wakefield Warriors virtually on Saturday, April 10th at the North Suburban YMCA in Woburn. Girls varsity volleyball had a big game against the Wakefield Warriors on Saturday, April 3rd. We have some highlights.
Girls varsity volleyball had a big game against the Wakefield Warriors on the morning of Saturday, April 3rd at Burlington High School. During the first 2 sets, the Red Devils were unstoppable against the Warriors. Burlington finished the first set 25-8 and the second 25-17. However, during the third set, Wakefield fired back as they outplayed Burlington 25-19. At the end of the third, it was 2-1. Burlington and Wakefield headed into the fourth set, knowing Burlington can continue its undefeated season with a set victory. It was a tough battle throughout, but the Red Devils held on to continue their undefeated season, 25-18 at the end of the fourth. Final set score was 3-1 Burlington.
The team did not get a rest as they had to prepare for the Tuesday matchup against the Melrose Red Raiders. Let's go to the highlights.
It was another battle of unbeaten teams in the Middlesex League as Burlington took on the 5-0 Melrose Red Raiders on Tuesday, April 6th at Burlington High School. The first set was really close as both teams brought their energy and momentum to the court. Burlington had 23 points, while Melrose took the set score of 25. End of the first set, 1-0 Melrose. Second set, Melrose continued to overpower the Red Devils as they kept scoring until they reached the set score of 25. Burlington only had 15 points during the second set. End of the second, 2-0 Melrose. Now in the third set, the girls needed to win this one to stay alive. Burlington did not go down without a fight. The Red Devils had 20 points in the third set, while Melrose finished the game with 25 points. Final set score, 3-0 Melrose.
The team drops to 6-1 on the season, and we will see the Red Raiders again in Melrose on Saturday, April 10th. Boys varsity football headed to Wakefield to take on the Warriors on Saturday, April 3rd. The only touchdown in the game was in the fourth quarter. Sophomore quarterback Nick Berglund threw it to senior wide receiver Matt Pinkham for a Red Devil touchdown. The final was 9-7 Wakefield. Burlington drops to 1-2 on the season and will be home to face the Melrose Red Raiders on Friday, April 9th at BHS. You can find coverage of the game on our BCAT TV Facebook page. For more Red Devil action, go to the BNEWS Sports section at bcattv.org and check out our Twitter page at BNEWS Sports. And that's all for your weekly sports report. I'm Liz Gillespie. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Liz. We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for a look at this week's forecast. We'll also check out the community calendar with Jolie Atwood to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone. This is Peter Brown with a look at your weather for the next 7 days. Here we are heading in towards almost the middle of April. Hard to believe that we're that far into spring already. And as we start out our period on Friday, looks like we're going to have some fairly spring-like temperatures around in the Burlington area. Highs around 60, so pretty nice out there. Temperatures at night, pretty seasonable for this time of the year. A little bit warmer than average, but you still definitely need your coat if you're going to be out and about in the Burlington area. Now we notice as we go through the rest of our period, it looks like it's going to be an unsettled period for us this week, unfortunately. It looks like we're going to have a chance of showers around almost every day. Nothing steady, but just that, keep that in mind that we're going to have a kind of cold upper level low pressure center over us. So that's going to keep our weather a little bit unsettled. But as we get towards the end of the period, heading into the Thursday time, we're actually looking at temperatures to be pretty pleasant out there. Temperatures may be up into the mid-60s as that upper level low starts to move away from us. And of course, the days keep getting longer and longer as we head further into the spring. Now, as we go ahead, we're going to take a look at a little bit different forecast. This is the forecast for the spring that the Climate Prediction Center has put out for us. And we wanted to just give you this at the start of every season, pretty much in the Burlington area, just to give you an idea of what we're thinking about in terms of temperatures and precip for the next 3 months. And of course, looking at our map, looks like temperatures here in the Burlington area and most of the U.S. are going to be at or maybe slightly above average, so maybe a slightly warmer than average spring. And as we bring in the precip map next, we're going to see, along with those warm temperatures, looks like we're going to see the chance, at least here in the New England area, in Burlington especially too, the chances of some above average precipitation. So that does set us up for some pretty good conditions if we get into any hot spells as we head towards the end of the spring into the summer, making sure that we have those reservoirs nice and filled up. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at those 7 days of weather coming up. And again, starting out on Friday, very pleasant out there, temperatures around 60. And of course, like we said, at nighttime, temperatures seasonable. Again, keep that coat handy still if you have to be out at night. Now, as we head into the end of the weekend and getting into the start of next week, again, that upper level low pressure center is going to be moving over our area, and that's going to bring with it some pretty cold temperatures up above us. That's going to translate down to the ground as well, so it's going to keep some of those clouds boiling up that we see at this time of the year, those big cumulus clouds every time that the sun comes out. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. It's going to keep it a little bit cooler. Temperatures, again, only really in the low and mid 50s, as we might see a sea breeze make it all the way into the Burlington area from the coast due to the light winds around here. However, though, as we get towards the end of the period, we're going to clear that upper level low out of the Burlington area and out of New England, and we're going to return to some really nice conditions out there. Temperatures back up into the 60s. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
I'm Jolie Atwood, and this is your community calendar. Come and listen to a forensic scientist. On Thursday, April 15th at 7 p.m., the Burlington Public Library is having a virtual presentation called Crime Lab Case Files, True Crime Tales, with forensic scientist Paul Zambella. This presentation is recommended for people of high school age and older, and pre-registration is required. For more information and to register, go to burlington.org. Ah, smell the flowers! Every Saturday in April from 5 to 8 p.m., 3rd Avenue is having the Tin Can Flower Company stop by with their truck. Stop by for fresh, gorgeous flowers and arrangements to go. To check out the company, go to tincanflowertruck.com. It's a big world out there. Through April 30th, Mass Audubon is celebrating Earth Month with events for kids and families. You can check them out at their website at www.massaudubon.org. I'm Jolie Atwood, and that was your community calendar.
Thank you, Jolie, and thank you, Peter. Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo inspires a sense of adventure. It was sent in by Mary Leach and shows a path boardwalk in Mary Cummings Park under a beautiful blue sky with the perfect amount of clouds. Great photo to inspire people to get out and enjoy nature this spring. Thanks for the photo, Mary. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your spring activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments. Whatever you think is interesting and want to share. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line, Photo of the Week. Well, that's it for this week's edition of BNEWS Weekly. I'm Linda McNamee. Have a wonderful week, stay safe, and I'll see you around town.